to order. I'd like to call to order the City of Homewood Planning Commission meeting, May 5, 2020. It's an online Zoom meeting. Ms. Bridges, will you call the roll, please?
All right. Mr. Foster?
Here.
Mr. Higginbotham?
Here.
Battalion Chief Hill?
Here.
Mr. Quanteros?
Here.
Mr. Riddle?
Here.
Mr. Roberts? Mr. Thames?
Here.
Mr. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Woods? All right. That completes it.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, there were minutes in your packet. I trust that you had a chance to read them. It's from the February 4th and the March 3rd, 2020 meetings. If there's no comments, I'd entertain a motion to approve and dispense with the reading. If there are some slight adjustments that need to be made, if you just get with Ms. Bridges afterwards.
So moved.
I would make a motion to approve the minutes as written with any slight modifications being sent to Ms. Bridges by Friday.
And I second John Quanteros.
Okay, the first was Mr. Foster, correct?
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Foster made the motion and Quanteros seconded the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, the ayes have it. Moving right along, gentlemen, old business item number 1. This is the request to review the landscape ordinance and the tree protection information. Because there has been no activity on this, I personally have not received any information. I'd entertain a motion to carry it over.
So moved.
That's Mr. Riddle, second by Mr. Foster to carry over.
All right, thank you. Moving right along, new business item number 1, PC case RS 20-04-01. We're going to hear this case together. First is a resurvey, and then second is a rezone. Is the applicant here to present the case? And if the applicant would state the name and address of their property.
Billy, hang on, Billy. That is on the chat function, and it should have that. That's got the applicant and then somebody that wanted to speak. It's in the chat function.
Okay.
So you can call on them first the applicant and then the next that you want, but they're in the chat, and so it's got that information in there.
Okay, I saw that David Silverstein with the 5 Stone Group, 2130 Highland Avenue, Birmingham, Alabama, 35205. Developer for new business items 1 and 2 would like to speak after Walter Scholl.
Yes, and then the applicant before that, you should see applicant Walter Scholl.
Yeah.
Okay, is Walter Scholl ready to speak?
Yes.
Yeah, and just for the record, Walter Scholl III, address 1001 22nd Street South, Birmingham. He is the applicant for Shades Valley Lutheran Church.
Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Yes, I'm representing the church. We have 2 items of business that are related. The first is a resurvey of Lot 1A to create lots 1 and 2, of which Lot 2 is the lot that will be rezoned. So the first case is a resurvey. We ask for approval of the resurvey at this meeting, but would also ask that the recording of the plat wait until successful zoning of the site is complete. The second is the rezoning of Lot 2, which is a 0.2 acre lot, a piece of the existing church campus. The existing church campus is about 4.3 acres. Lot 2 is a proposed 1.3 acre lot approximately that is planned to be developed as an office use. That's the application from the applicant's point of view. I would like to turn this over to Mr. Silverstein to talk about the development, his development plans.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Thank you for arranging for this Planning Commission meeting. It's nice to finally get back into a little business after several weeks of everybody self-quarantining. So thank y'all very much. Brief history. About a year and a half ago, give or take, I had a meeting with Paul Shabacker of the Lutheran Church, and the church would like to see if there's a way to perhaps monetize a portion of their undeveloped site. Certainly Paul's, I think, on the line here that can speak to this, but you know, the congregation isn't growing with leaps and bounds, but the church certainly loves its presence in Homewood, loves its presence on the site, and would like to see if there's a way that they could create a little revenue for the church by perhaps, as I said, developing just a portion of the site. You should have in your packet, and I trust you do, an aerial that outlines the location of the site. I don't know who's speaking on behalf of Mr. Who's chairman of the meeting tonight?
Myself, Billy Higginbotham.
Billy, I don't know. Do you have in y'all's packet the aerial?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay, so you can see it should be outlined in yellow, the area that we're talking about. And certainly in working with the church, there's really a limited number of uses that would be suitable for the site. You know, you're not going to put a drive-through restaurant there. You're not going to put a, you know, high density type of development. So we've worked with the church in a program of building a boutique office building, about 25,000 square feet. That would be very much in keeping with the Fairway building that's directly across the drive that runs up from Shades Creek Parkway, really up to the Lucky building. That drive is actually owned by the church. There is a signalized intersection there that really is a fabulous intersection. You can go in either direction on 280 or east-west on the Parkway. So we have, in working with the church, presented the church a plan that would allow for the construction of, like I said, a boutique office building. We're required to submit to the church architectural drawings so that they can have approval of it. Gray Placer of the KPS architectural firm is our architect. As you know, Walter Scholl is our civil engineer. So we feel very confident that the architectural feel for the building, which has not been designed yet, can certainly fit in nicely into this area here. I began this process really first by calling Jennifer Andrus to say, here's what we'd like to do, working with the church, and get some feedback from Jennifer because she represents this district. And about end of February, I think it was, we, working with Jennifer, called a meeting of neighbors that live in close proximity, residential neighbors that are in close proximity to the church. And we held a meeting of those residents. We invited some 50 or 60 residents. I think around 7 to 10 showed up, and we went over the plans and how the site works and ingress and egress, and certainly think those residents that were in attendance were very much in favor of what they saw. So what we'd like to consider is certainly keeping the zoning for the church in place, but yet rezone just this portion of the site where the office building would be located to C1. As a side note, we've also had a couple meetings with the planning and engineering staff for the city to make sure that they were up to speed on the program here. We're not asking for any variances. The building can be constructed within the proposed property lines without and complying with all required setbacks. We have worked out with the church, some cross parking so that, during the week when the office building is operating, there's not really that much activity at the church. So there would be sufficient parking to cover the need of the boutique building. The types of tenants that we would bring in there would be, more like the investment bankers, investment, companies that are right there anyway, between Lucky and Fairway and Raymond James. It's that type of proposed project. I'm gonna stop and ask if anybody has any questions. Be happy to talk. I can keep talking, but I'd rather give you guys an opportunity. I think you probably can glean from the drawings the type of building we're talking about in the proposed project.
All right, thank you, Mr. Silverstein. What we typically do is at this time in a normal meeting, we open this up to public discussion.
Sure.
Has there been any?
No, there has been no other requests besides David Silverstein. There have been no other requests to speak so far.
All right, thank you, Brian. With that, the public hearing has been opened and it has been closed. And I would ask commission members, do you have any questions of the applicant's representative, Mr. Silverstein?
This is Jeff Foster. I had a question about the number of, there's a small grove of trees there. Obviously, you're going to need to remove the majority of those. What are the plans for the buffer? Obviously, it looks like something is indicated here on this plan. It doesn't have any details of what's going in or if you're going to try and save any of the existing trees. And then I also had a question about runoff there. If I'm thinking of this correctly, this will run right down into the large creek across the street. I just want to make sure y'all thought about that. How are we draining water away? I mean, it should be a problem, I don't think.
Sure. Well, first on the trees, our goal certainly would be to maintain as nice a buffer as possible. We're going to lose some of the trees, but we've not done technically haven't done a tree survey yet, but certainly we'll do that if the plans are, if we're able to move forward with the process, recognizing that, in all the projects that I've done over the years, and I'm also one of the owners of Bear Properties. We did the Summit and other projects around. Landscaping is certainly a critical element to all that we do. It'd be a shame not to continue to do the right type of, landscaping for a project of this Class A. And, we've made a commitment to the church as part of our agreement to utilize landscaping with plants native to North Central Alabama. And that's, or more very much in keeping with the area, and that, so we've made a commitment to the church on the landscaping. As I say, we'll be we will be submitting to the church for review the total plans for the project, and certainly by the time before we get started, the city will certainly see the plans to make sure they're in compliance. Walter Scholl has been, I guess now, Walter, it's been 30 years that you began working with us on the Summit. Walter's the best, if not the best, one of the best hydrologists and civil engineers in this, and that we've ever worked with. And so Walter's been entrusted with designing and will be designing stormwater runoff for this. So Walter, do you want to address that question?
Yes. First, the grading question. We've already done preliminary grading and drainage, and it's in the package. There's a grading plan, and the grading limits are as small as they can be made, and every tree that can be saved will be saved by limiting those grading limits to the extent. As far as drainage goes, that's obviously a big concern. All the communities, and Homewood is one of them, are having to live with a new stormwater permit. We understand that. If you look at the plan, there's actually an underground stormwater detention system that's under the parking area.
Hey, Walter, this is Jeff again. I'm trying to flip through. Which packet would I find that in, one or two?
Oh, I don't know.
Okay, I may be in the wrong packet then.
I know you have it, but I don't know how it is identified to you.
I'll find it. Continue. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, that's fine. But we'll use underground detention. The underground detention is primarily to control flow rates, but it also has a water quality benefit. And we've been asked to look into low impact design, and there's opportunities for what are either called low impact design or green infrastructure practices. They're not designed yet, but if they're feasible here, they're cost effective, and they're good to look at, and it's in the plan to utilize those if they're feasible.
Hey, Jeff, this is Billy. The grading is in the first package. It's spot grades 60, 675, 685, 655. It shows the grading.
Thank you. Okay, found it.
Fred, are you on the line? Fred?
Right now, I can hear you, yes.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Earlier, we had a discussion. You had looked up for us what the master plan designated for this particular piece of property. And would you, for the benefit of the other members, would you go over what we discussed earlier?
Yes. What I was pointing out to you in our conversation was in your zoning packet, the second case, I think it's about the second page to the end. We included the existing zoning, but also the recommended land use plan, what the city's land use plan calls for this piece of property. And if you'll turn to that page, but the subject property, which would include this office site, is actually recommended for an office use. It's bordered to the west by residential, and of course Brookwood, the commercial uses of Brookwood Mall. But the particular triangular piece of property, the subject property, is actually recommended for an office use. So the proposed project that the commission is considering tonight would be consistent with the city's adopted master land use plan.
Thank you, Fred.
Mr. Higginbotham, James Riddle has a question for Mr. Silverstein, if it be admissible.
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Silverstein, on the parking you mentioned earlier, am I reading this correctly that you're showing a parking under the building where it would be a raised office building with additional parking between it and the upper existing parking of the Lutheran church?
Yes, sir. There would be some covered parking underneath the building, and then so that's one level, and there'll be an elevator that takes you from that covered parking up to the main entrance of the building, which would be at the level where you're talking about.
Sure, I got you. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I see that now. Yes.
Right.
Mr.
So we're
Silverstein.
talking at least, you're sorry, Billy, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Jeff.
This is Jeff again. So you're adding at least 40 parking spaces. Okay.
Yeah,
Mr. Silverstein, is there going to be a cross-parking agreement with the Lutheran Church? I know that the Lutheran Church sometime back, many years ago, came to us, and they've got a cross-parking agreement with what was, I guess, once called the Lucky Building. Will you have a similar cross-parking agreement with them?
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
so Jeff, that looks about 63 parking places, I think.
Yeah, I'm trying to read it. The print's a little small, so thanks for clarifying that. Okay.
I think I added up, there were 59 parking spaces proposed. I think based on the size, it would be about 75 required spaces. So the cross parking agreement would be necessary to meet those minimum parking.
But the majority of parking, 2/3 at least, is covered by the building itself,
Yes,
or the development, I should say.
that's correct.
Okay.
Thank
Are
you.
there any additional questions from commission members? If there are no further questions of the applicant, I'd entertain a motion to approve new business item number 1, PC case number RS 20-04-01.
James Riddle, so moved.
John Frontiers,
Yeah.
second.
Okay, we've got a motion from Mr. Riddle and a second from Mr. Cronteris. Ms. Bridges, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
and Chief Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Cronteras,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. Thames,
Yes.
Mr. Higginbotham,
Yes, the case is approved. Moving right along.
Wilson, excuse me.
Billy Brady Wilson is also online.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Wilson.
For the record, yes.
Okay.
Okay, the case is approved. Moving right along to new business item number 2, PC case number R0-20-04-02. This is a rezone of the property. For the applicant, we, the planning commission, only make a recommendation to council. This will have to go to council for the rezone. With that said, is there a motion to approve this?
I move to approve. James Riddle.
Is there a
I'll
second?
second. This is Jeff Foster.
All right, we've got a motion to approve by Mr. Riddle and a second by Mr. Foster. Will someone call the roll, please?
Mr. Foster,
Yes.
and Chief Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Cronteras,
Yes.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. Thames,
Yes.
Mr. Wilson,
Yes.
Mr. Higginbotham.
Yes. Thank you. Both cases were approved. Again, the rezone will have to go before the city council.
Yes.
Moving along,
I may just,
since
the
there's
applicant,
no other information to review or discuss, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay.
Sorry, I did have one. This is Jeff Foster. I have one minor question, quick question. Is the plan for the June meeting also to be Zoom currently?
We don't know.
We don't, it'd be contingent on City Hall reopening. We don't have that information.
Okay.
Possibly.
Yeah. In the event that it is Zoom, if possible, if we could give Brian an electronic copy of the packet, that way he can display items on the screen for the public. I work with Brian at UAB. He's fairly adept at Zoom and sharing his screen, so it may be something of benefit moving forward if we continue in this medium.
All right, thank you, Mr. Foster. If there are no further questions, comments, or concerns, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
John
Second.
Frontiers, second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposition? Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
Hopefully, we'll
Thank you.
meet again
Hey,
next
Billy.
month and perhaps in live.